Lord, want to welcome Barbed Wire Bite here as always with your host, Pitbull number one, Gary Wolf.
Number one. What's up, guys? What's happening?
Raining where you are.
Oh, it's crazy right now. I'm in Florida. It's raining like a son of a bitch. And yes, I am sporting the Pittsburgh Steelers hat from yesterday. 35-24 against Seattle. Steelers look good this year, people. Better watch out. Never seen them looking so nice and flowing.
You need a towel like Britt Baker.
Oh, I have a towel. I have plenty of them towels, man. I'm diehard Steeler fan.
She's smart, when she's in Pittsburgh girl, she's got the Britt Baker towel, the same colors. That's why she's so over there.
Oh, she's over. She breaks out the jackets, the coats, the gimmick. She had all that stuff made. Yeah, here it is. There it is. The terrible towel, man.
The real
right
one.
There. That's in our future. We'll be in Los Angeles, California for that Super Bowl this coming year.
I'm a Panthers and a Vikings man, so I don't, who knows what this season brings.
I was just very confused because the Browns are in our division, and I couldn't believe they actually traded that Mayfield guy. He took them to 2 playoffs, almost a Super Bowl last year, and he played hurt, and they still got rid of him. So I don't understand the Browns why they did that. I have no idea. And then they hire another quarterback that's suspended for the first 6 games. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
We're talking about football. The Lex Luger documentary that just aired. What switched colleges, went to Green Bay, never played, went to Canada. The guy moved all around. He doesn't look like he saw a lot of football action though, except up in Canada.
Yeah, he played a lot. When I met him he was working for NWA at the time, I think he was. And we were real young at the time because we were working for Paul Jones and George Scott in the Carolinas. So we would always go to the NWA shows because honestly, we wanted to work for that company. But we were so young, he would always look at us and be like, man, you guys are still too young, And we're like, look, we're working 6 nights right now. And that's because Vince brought us here to work. We were working the 6 nights to get ready to go to work for Vince. But we wanted to go to WCW. And then, like I said, then later on, New Japan got in touch with us. So, we had a couple options, but I always wanted to work for NWA because I just was into that more at the time. Like when I was younger, I was more into WWE, WWF. But then as I got older, it seemed like the NWA just got my attention more. It wasn't as cartoonish,
Yeah. And you got a lot of blood over there. You had some gimmicks, and because I liked Luger. Like I liked him as a horseman, but like when he was the narcissist or all American, I never cared for him in WWE. Something just didn't click. He kind of belonged over in the other company, it seemed like.
I personally think he was always a better heel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when they turned him babyface, when Vince turned him babyface and went against Yokozuna, they really didn't have anything there left. You got to remember Hogan was gone at that time, right? So they were, I guess, trying to make Luger the next Hulk Hogan. And I understand what they were trying to do, but I don't think it ever did pan out, and get over as much as they thought it would get over. I think he got over more when he went back to WCW, like you said, and they made him a 4 horseman and made him a heel. And when he was in all black, it just seemed like it was just better.
Well, he looks like a prick. You can tell when he was shaking hands and doing this, you could tell he wasn't into it. He was just going through motions where that was Hogan, so.
Yeah. Well, Terry, like I met him the first time I met him, it was probably 1988. And I was just starting school at the Monster Factory. And we were going up to Vince just to do jobs, just to get some experience, working in that locker room and, it's watching how those guys perform and how they work. And it was really good that we did that because we were beating the shit out of each other in the school, not knowing that it's a work, not knowing that, we don't have to kill each other, And we went up there, worked against, like I went against one night the big boss man and Akeem, the African Dream. They were called, and they're two big son of a bitches, man, monsters. And I barely felt them. I mean, if I didn't look at them, I would have never known they touched me. So, but that's how easy it was working up there. And when I got back and we were at the Monster Factory, we were all looking at each other like, dude, we didn't even know. Now we know how to work. I mean, now I understand what's going on here because we were killing each other. I mean, chopping our chests where we're bleeding practically. I mean, this was just stupid what we were doing to ourselves.
Let me ask you with the chop. Ric Flair to master the chop, but when you take the chop, do you just let the fucking guy smack you in the chest that hard, or do you have to kind of like fall back with it, or?
No, I usually just flex and just take it. I mean, I've been chopped so many times. I think I broke my collarbone right here because it does stick out a little bit more than the other side. So if that's how many, we were chopped the living hell out of each other when we were in school at the factory. And I would always go home sore. But eventually you get used to it and it doesn't even phase you anymore. Like if you hit like a fan, when the fan says, oh, I don't think those chops hurt. I'll be like, oh, I'll give you a chop. Just sign this paper that releases me from, because I'm going to hurt you. And I do the chop where I do a Flair chop followed by an over the hand Garvin chop. So I do a double whammy. So it's pow. That's how mine sound.
Now, what, like, I know, Flair was always like that, the woo, the
Flair
trademark.
did the back. Flair did the back chop right to the chest.
What do you think of that one?
Ronnie Garvin, the hands of stone, would do this chop over the top.
That's what most of the luchadors do now. I notice Penta and Phoenix, they always smack. It makes a louder noise, but which one hurts more?
Probably the Garvin chop because you're coming down with more power, but they both hurt. They both sting. Like I said, a regular guy that just gets a chop, he'll grab his chest and probably go to his knees easily. So
I like when Kingston fought Brian Danielson. Danielson's whole chest within minutes was just, and Kingston was doing him good until he started doing that whole. When
I
he's
don't
trying
like
to do the rapid, because you can tell he's just going like that. You can tell it's doing nothing.
I do that with the forearms and stuff. I hit you with 3 quick ones. I don't like the quick chops like that. I think that makes them look weak.
They look phony as all hell.
Yeah, they look weak, and I'm not into that. You know what I mean? So, but
I showed my son, we were watching some old Rumbles. And here's a question, because you always talk about it. I wanted to remember this. Shawn Michaels was in a couple of them. Shawn Michaels, great wrestler. And, he tune up the band where they say stomp the foot, throw the super kick and all that. And my son was like, why do they stay down? I was like, well, that was the finish. Now he's just like, Bucks did 30 of them last night. When did the super kick? Do you think that should be a finish, or do you think it's better just to be a move in a match?
Listen, nowadays, what these guys are doing in the ring today, a super kick is not a finish. I mean, even though back in the day it was, I mean, shit, look at the super kick that Goldberg did to Bret Hart. It put him out of the business.
Did.
He kicked him so freaking hard, practically knocked him out. And you got to remember, he's coming off the rope, so that's even more momentum. I never realized how stiff it was till I saw it when I was watching the Bret Hart one. And yeah, he nailed him really hard with that. But I mean, like I said, back then, you get a super kick, you sold it. These guys get a super kick, they're right back up within a second. Not even, I mean, look, I'm lucky they're registering it, not alone taking the bump. But to me, it's just, there's just so many. Like, there's so many times they can go home in a match and they don't go home. They just keep going. And then finally, you're like, wait a minute, they're both like superheroes. It doesn't even make sense to me anymore.
What'd you think of, I love, like everybody, I love the Acclaimed. I love the Acclaimed. I always have loved the Acclaimed. What'd you think of the dumpster match with the Acclaim and the Ass Boys?
I've seen the dumpster match before. think Vince did it one before.
And with daddy ass or whatever they call Billy Gunn.
I like how Billy's actually turning against his kids. To me, honestly, that is honestly the best thing he could have did, because I was getting to the point where I was watching it and saying to myself, all right, daddy's trying to push these kids too hard. And I mean, I like the way they're going up compared to the way Hook's coming up with Taz. Like, I really don't think they should have gave Hook a belt yet. He can't even cut a promo.
No.
Okay? And he's still so young. They should still be giving him, it's too effing soon. That's my opinion. It's too soon for him to have a strap.
Well, when he was being interviewed by Shivani on Friday, and Shivani was like, "This title can be defended anytime." Yup. And I get he's saying one word, but when I looked at him and he had on just like a hoodie with, just street clothes, he looked like a 12-year-old kid holding a belt. He was too young.
It's not a believable gimmick now. And then I don't know what they're doing with the other guy that had the strap. They're turning him face.
Yeah, Ricky.
But he is a heel, man. Ricky's always been a heel.
He's a natural heel.
He's a natural heel. Even on Independence, he was a heel. Always been, never changed. I mean, he's a good worker. I just don't understand why they'll keep him the way that he's good. I mean, he's good at a heel. Like I said, they're giving Hook that strap too soon, and all it's doing is defeating the purpose of that belt, and it's bringing that belt. I think personally, it's making the belt look weak, and it's who's going to care anymore about that FTW belt. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. I just think it's too soon for him to have a strap. I mean, shit. Cowboy should still have the belt.
Yeah.
I mean, they even did that too soon. I mean, let these guys hold on to a strap for a little while.
Hogan for like 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a really good job with the girls division as far as the TBS talent is concerned. She's holding the strap, but they're putting it on one chick who looks the part, could work the part, I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of stories too. I don't know what's going on with Naomi and Sasha Banks. I heard they're going back, then I heard they're not going back. I don't know what's going on with that. And I also heard that since Triple H took over now, he's supposed to be bringing a lot of guys back that were already released.
Triple H likes wrestling. Like, if you watch Triple H matches, if you notice, he liked a short match to Triple H was 20-something minutes. He liked to do those long. So I think he wants to have, like, let's get Ciampa and Gargano and let's do a 90 or 60-minute match. He wants to see stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, SummerSlam I watched, and I didn't think it was a bad show. I actually liked it. But when Lesnar hit the ring with the tractor or whatever the fuck it was, and he tipped the ring, that should have been the end of the match. I didn't think they needed to go another 10 minutes because you weren't topping a guy lifting a ring up with a fucking bulldozer. That needed to be how it ended. Roman needed to tumble down, and that was it. It shouldn't have kept going.
Yeah, I saw it too. I thought I was really surprised that Brock actually jumped off the tractor and landed on Roman before the match. When it's just started, I thought, oh shit, now that's fucking good. Like, I didn't think he would do that, but he did it easily with no problem, man. That's how. And I remember watching. I actually sat down with my girl and we were watching the Kurt Angle match versus Brock Lesnar when he did that moonsault. Oh, dude, anybody else would have broke their neck.
Oh yeah,
but he's just such a beast that he just went boom. I mean, you could tell he was out of it still, even when he went in the back. But that was one crazy ass match. And I seen another one that they didn't even show on the documentary was Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle in New Japan at the Tokyo Dome. Talk about a wrestling match, bro. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen. Like, between two WWE guys, but both of them were unbelievable pro wrestlers and amateur wrestlers, so it didn't make a difference. You know what I mean? But What a hell of a match. One suplex after another. I mean, it was a complete strong style match. It was awesome. If you ever get a chance, you got to try to find that match.
I don't ever like mentioning this guy, but I will. Who did you think was a better technical wrestler? Here's a good one. Kurt Angle or Benoit?
Uh, in our business, I'd have to go with Benoit, even though Kurt Angle he's a shooter. I mean, he beat everybody at the WWF lock. He beat every single person in that locker room, tapped out. Okay. I know somebody who was there who works for Vince, who was sitting in the audience, just sitting in the crowd after the show because Vince came walking in and he snapped out. He's like, I don't want my guys getting hurt. What's going on? Who the hell's doing this? And Kurt's like, I'm going through every single guy that wants to wrestle me, that think they could beat me, including the Big Show. And he made every single one of them tap. Every one. And my boy that happened to be there, he was like, I was just sitting there watching, minding my own business. And then Vince started yelling at me like it's my fault. He's like, he's got to blame somebody. He always does. But I'm
Okay,
hoping, I'm thinking things are going to change now that he's out of there, and they keep finding more and more money. Like every other day or every other week, they're finding another 5 million or another 2 million.
he's in the 30s now, I think.
It's up that high.
I think so.
I thought it was like past 19 million, and now you're telling me it's that. Well,
I mean,
they got
if it's his money, who cares? But if he funneled it, he's fucked.
yeah. Now Laurinaitis, they brought him back, and then Triple H and Stephanie canned him again. So I
Does he
think
serve any purpose though in today's day and age?
no, I don't think he does. I mean, unless they're planning on bringing the Bellas back, that's the only reason why I think he would be there.
No talent. I never liked them. No talent. Those two girls should be working at a Hooters.
That's where they were from.
Yeah, that's where they need to stay.
You hit it on the nail. They are Hooter girls who worked at Hooters that flew down. They took a chance, flew to Orlando from California, and went to the NXT school and took a chance. And I guess they looked at them and said, "Oh shit, they're twins. Let's do something." But nowadays, I can tell you 3, 4, 5 different set of twins that I know of that are already in the business that are getting ready to go up. So the twin thing has been done, and it's not new. So
Here's real quick to go back. Street fight, real fight. Kurt Angle versus Rick Rude. Who would have won?
I gotta say Kurt Angle because he's a gold medalist. Even though I do know Rick Rude was a champion, a world heavyweight champion arm wrestler, and he could go. He could fight too. So I'd have to go with Kurt Angle due to the fact he's a gold medalist. And I don't know if you've seen his workout regimen for the 3 years that he trained for the Olympics. That is insanity, man. That's all he did was eat, sleep, and crap wrestling. That's all he did. And he won that gold medal on pure skill. You know what I mean? And the way he was able to just win by point and point and point, instead of trying to go in and just destroy somebody, he was very calculated on how he beat his opponents. And he went against guys from Iran and from Russia. I mean, he went against crazy animals that will tear people up. So Kurt Angle is the real deal. I don't care what anybody says.
Could he have beat Ming, Maraku, whatever you want to call him?
I don't. That's something I would have loved to see. Put it that way, because that would have probably been one crazy ass fight. And Ming is no joke, one of the toughest guys in our business. I remember he told my partner because he was actually wrestling my partner when we were there. And I remember Ming, he's very nice to us because he knew we were tight with Alpha and Sika, but he was very still business. He told Anthony, I'm going to hit you right in the nose and with a round kick that he does. And he did. He clipped that. He broke my partner's nose with his big toe. Okay, that's how good, that's how crazy and dangerous he was. I sat with him once going to Australia, or we were going to New Zealand. At least 10 hours I was on the flight with him and just talking to him and him telling me how he was put in a Buddhist camp by his parents when he was a little kid. And that's why he's so dangerous today, is because that's all they did was teach him how to do martial arts and all kinds of stuff as a kid. And he stayed there until he was at least 18 or 19, able to leave, and that was pretty rough because I went to a military academy. But this Buddhist thing that he did, there's no way I could have took that.
But were you at the arena the night Kurt Angle was there, the crucifixion?
Yeah, he walked in, he saw that, and he walked right out. Like he was just like, I can't be a part of this.
But see, that's what I don't get. Because then when the Undertaker did it to Austin, why wasn't he running his mouth? I guess
He
he
was
was under
working for
contract
Vince.
then. So
You got to remember, I think he went to Vince and then said no, and then he was fishing around. I think he came to ECW, saw what we were doing, and he was like, I cannot be involved with this. American hero. I'm a gold medalist, and he walked out. But then I think he realized, because later he said when I watched the doc, he went back to Vince, but Vince was like, "Oh, I'll hire you, but that deal I offered you before is off the table now." And you can imagine what that was, because he was a gold medalist. Knowing Vince, he probably threw at least $500,000 his way for that first contract, which is a lot of money for your first contract. But since he was a gold medalist, because I don't think he signed, because technically, I think like the minimum pay back when I was going there, like the low ball pay would be like 100 grand or something like that, or 120, or it's sort of low ballpark, because nobody was making the money that the guys, like when WCW, like when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went over there, dude, they were paying them guys $800,000 a year. That's crazy money. I mean, they were getting more money than what Vince was paying.
they were working what, 3-4 days a month?
Oh yeah, they had it easy. Why do you think I wanted and I couldn't wait to go to work for WCW? You know what I mean? I was just like, I mean, it's a little bit more work than ECW, but it's not as much work as WWF at the time. Because 365 days a year is too much. It's just too much.
ECW, you in the beginning, you guys were just working the one show a month, and then when you started touring, what was the most you were working for Paul? Was it like maybe 3 or 4 days a week?
Yeah, we were always doing a Friday, Saturday. Then as we got bigger and bigger, and we always got, especially like the arena, we tried to do a lot of our TV there until we started expanding, and then we would do TV everywhere. Uh, I loved working the arena. Every once in a blue moon, like we'll have a Thursday, then a Friday, Saturday, and usually we wouldn't have anything on Sunday. But then sometimes we would have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Friday and Saturday. So it was good because we were able. That's why we were so able to like destroy each other with tables and chairs so much, because we knew we had Monday through Thursday to recover and get better. So I mean, usually my whole week was, I work Friday, Saturday. I don't work out them days, because when I would work out before I'd wrestle, I would get injured. So I said I got to stop doing that. So, but a Friday and Saturday doing what we were doing was kind of rough. So it took us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to recover from that Friday and Saturday. So that's why sometimes, I'll look at these guys that work for events, they'll do a WrestleMania Saturday, a Sunday, and they still got to be there for Monday Night Raw, man, and they ain't even gone home yet. That's rough.
The weird thing with me with ECW, like when finally got on pay-per-view, I love Barely Legal. I loved it because it was in the arena. All the other pay-per-views that weren't at the arena, it was something was missing from it. Just as a fan, for me, as in my eyes, it was like, this just without that, it was just something missing. It's like this show just wasn't too good. Then you guys go back to do an arena show that that they would sell, and it's like, this is it. Was the building that magical that made it everything special?
Yeah, the building was, it just gave us these weird vibes, man. It just got us all. like our minds were all like, we're crazy. Like we would sit there and just look at the camera and watch the TV and watch each match, and everybody who was going on next, they're like, oh shit, I got to come up with something better than that. That's why they would watch the matches, because we were always trying to outdo the match before us, because we had to, and that's what made it so, competitive, and that's what got us all. And I think that's why all of us from ECW have a certain work ethic that some guys don't have. You know what I mean? We're willing to do a couple of false finishes, and before we go home. You know what I mean? I want people to be on the edge of their seat, but I don't sit there and do like 5 finishes before the match is over. You know what I mean? It's just too much DDTs and all this stuff that the match should be done, and then they'll do a leg drop for a finish, and it's like 7 other moves prior to that were so more crazy and vicious. That should have been the finish. Like it should have ended right there. Sometimes they go too long, and I always say too much. It could, like, if you do too much, I'd rather do less than more. Put it that way. Less is better than more.
Why do you think, and I guess this probably be a question for them, but financial standpoint, even before, hey, I'll say Todd or Paul, why didn't they just try to buy that building?
They were never going to sell that building. Yeah, that building is actually a whole block. It's a whole block, that building. If you notice, back in the day, they had a Foreman Mills connected to the building. And then there was another part of the building that they would rent out to somebody else. It would actually be one of the Mummers Parade guys, the Vikings. They would set up all their stuff in there, get it ready for each year, and they would build their Mummers stuff. And they had a bar in there, a nightclub in there. People don't realize there were so many things hidden in there. But the ECW guys, we had our own bar, we had our own nightclub there. We would just have to go upstairs and go through all these tunnels, and we would find it. A lot of people had no clue that the stuff that was back there.
Yeah, I liked when you were at the arena. I liked Queens. I liked when you guys were in Queens. I liked the Hammerstein Ballroom. I liked a lot. Jim Thorpe, I liked a lot. The one on the mountain. But it's like when Paul, and I get why when you do the pay-per-view, you've got to go to somewhere that houses bigger. I understand that, but I still don't get why was he like, let's do this pay-per-view in Columbus, Ohio. It's like, why didn't you just find a bigger building in Philly? I don't get why he didn't stay where he was.
Like the one building we used to go to, Buffalo, was awesome. I mean, that Buffalo building was beautiful, man. They had the super high where the people would sit. The bleachers, they would go up 20, 30 feet at least. I mean, they were super high. But yeah, I love that because it just the way the camera would make that building look packed all the time. I mean, we would sell out most of them anyway. I mean, we never had to do what WF and what AEW does is like before the show. Okay, everybody, I need everybody to move over here in this section to this section. So then when we put it on TV, we look like we're sold out. We never had to do that. That was one thing we've never did. So you see, whatever building you've seen, that's how it was. We never moved anybody because we never had an empty seat to move them to.
You guys broke fire code a lot at the arena, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We would do standing room only. I mean, like we couldn't fit. If 2 people came out, they would sneak 2 more people in. That's how packed it was. And you got to remember too, back then, the athletic commission was a lot more stricter, or maybe not as strict. I don't know because it's been so long. I mean, I go to Philly now, I don't even see an athletic commission. So I don't even know what's going on with that.
Do you blame Paulie and ECW for like, back in the day, like when you and I were young, tape fist. Someone's gonna get killed tonight with the tape fist. Now it's like, man, that guy's got tacks all over his shoe. Maybe next week he'll bring a knife. Do you think the fact that it was elevated so high, it can't ever come back down again?
Well, you watch AEW, they're throwing out thumbtacks as much as they possibly can. I could see they're trying to make it hardcore. I guess they're trying to give everybody a little taste, of everything. Same with Vince. Now that Triple H took over, maybe we'll start seeing better storylines. Uh, yeah, I mean, even Darby Allin with the thumbtacks on his skateboard.
I was happy he won. I thought he was going to lose, but they got to keep the coffin alive for Darby Allin. I love Darby.
I love the finish. I mean, I thought Brody Lee did a great job. He took an awesome bump, you know, and the chain was there for that. That was perfect. He took the one bump and landed right in the coffin. Uh, a lot of the interference in that match was the kind of I don't think I would have did. They should have just kept it, you know, as you know, good match. It was good that Sting came out. I don't know what he's got planned, but I'm surprised he's still working his ass off and he's still getting paid. So
Yeah, I gotta rep the Stinger any chance. I like him more now than I
yeah,
did in the 80s and 90s.
yeah. Well, he knows what he knows the gimmick now. It's a totally different thing. And his job is get Darby Allin over, and that's what he's doing. You know, I mean that kid. I remember watching him on a documentary, and he was living in Seattle, and he would go all the way to New Jersey in a van with a bunch of other independent workers paying their dues. So I have to say he did pay his dues because, like I said, he was going cross country to do an independent show, you know, a body bag show, you know, and he would come up with good matches, and that's how he got popular. And next thing you know, bang, he's on AEW. You know, if you remember when he first started, how skinny he was, dude, he wasn't looking good. He was on the edge. Okay, he was walking that fine line in wrestling. I like to call the dead line. You don't want to be on that line, and he was on it. Once they put Sting with him and they started pushing him, he looks so healthy now. He looks like a totally different person.
I like the only thing I dislike, like I love Darby and and MJF, who we haven't seen, what the fuck, loved him. I like Ricky Starks, but I hate when I see a guy like Darby, and I mean, granted, he won this week, but he's doing jobs to these ex WWE guys. Do you think Tony Khan's going too crazy bringing in these WWE guys and pushing them over his homegrown talent?
Yeah, see, that's the wrong thing. Like in ECW, when guys would come in, if we were there, they'd put us with them right away, and they'd have to do the job for us. It wasn't a big deal. It was us. It was just Paul giving them a test and saying, okay, how are you guys going to, react to this? Even when I went back to ECW and I was there from the get go in the beginning, when I went back, they asked me from the beginning, you got to do us a favor. You got to do the job. And that's part of the business. There's no problem with that. I have no problem doing that. Like, but now, I mean, they just brought another guy in and they're trying to copy off of Brock Lesnar with this guy. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a big cat. He looks the gimmick. He's got a good gimmick, but they're going to start pushing him, and they're going to start doing the Goldberg gimmick with this guy.
They're already doing that with Wardlow.
Do you see what I'm saying? So who are they going to do it with? Eventually, they're going to end up putting them two together, but don't do it sooner. Wait later to do it. That's what I would do. Build that guy up because he's not even close to Wardlow's area yet. Wardlow's up here, and this guy's he just came in. Build them up, build them up, build them up, build them up. Don't rush it. I can't stand when companies rush it, man.
Well, what'd you think? And I like Mox. I do like him. I was so happy he beat Jericho. I hate when Jericho wins every fucking week, but and then Punk comes down, and then Moxley just looks at him, gives him the finger, walks away. Well, he made Punk look like a piece of shit, in my opinion. And now when they have the interim match, because they've got to unify the belts, I would let Moxley win. He's over. I think he's 10 times better worker than Punk, but I'm sure they'll give it to Punk. But once again, though, you have two ex WWE guys fighting for the heavyweight title.
True. Did everybody see what Jericho was wearing?
Oh, the old Lionheart gimmick.
That's his ECW gear. It was remade, but he got it remade on purpose to say, hey, we're doing a hardcore match here. I'm ECW that night. That was all. I mean, I got to admit, it was a good match.
Did he rip the earring out? Or was that gimmick?
I'm sure he cut his ear.
Okay. I've had earrings torn out. It hurts like hell, but
did you see Jericho? get busted open the hard way?
Yeah, he did take a hard one.
That was the hard way, dude, and that was no joke. He had to get at least fucking 10, 20 stitches on that sucker. That thing was open wide, and he did it himself. He didn't even put his hand there. He just whacked his head on it, and I could see right from the get go, his hand went right up there because that's what you do automatically. You always bring your hand up to feel it, even if you hit your head on the post. Like I always touch my head because I could feel the lump start coming up. I'm just hoping it's not going to bust open and I start bleeding. That's pretty much I can't deal with that. It happened once in California. I remember I just had to chop the living hell out of the guy. I mean, after the match, my hands were black and blue. That's how hard I was hitting because it was at that point, you stiffed me, you potatoed me, you got a receipt coming. Get ready, kid, because here it comes. So,
now, how come, like, okay, so here's Mox, and I think the whole Jericho appreciation, I get it when you're at that age. You want the young guys to kind of help you, but okay, do you think it looks bad or is it just me? They're all beating up fucking Moxley and Regal's up there commentating. Why doesn't Regal take the headset off, walk down there and punch a few people?
I think Regal's past that point now. I don't know if he could have had injuries that we don't even know about. Maybe he can't go in the ring and work anymore. I don't know. But I'm sure if it was possible, Regal would have done that. But I don't think it's up to the boss. That kind of stuff is all predetermined if you're going to do that or not. And I noticed on AEW, they do a lot of run-ins. And another thing that they do a lot of, which I don't think they should do, is the lights out.
I hate that. I blame
When
Paul Heyman for not
out,
paying his bills for electricity.
dude, when we were in ECW, we would do lights out, but it would only be for like something very spectacular. It's going to be insanity.
Yeah, Sabu's back. It's Jerry Lawler in the arena. Ravens. Yeah, it was always. This is every fucking week. At least twice the lights go out.
Yeah, it's just too much. I like I said, it's got to be. If you're going to do it with meaning. You know what I'm saying? Just don't do it because you have the switch right here and you can flip it off and flip it on. You know what I mean?
See, I still say, like, if you watch and I like AEW, I'm not knocking it, but if you watch it from a few years ago, that was when it was Tony and the Bucks and Kenny and Cody Rhodes. They were all booking this stuff, and I'm sure Jericho was booking his stuff too. Now Tony Khan's like, just me, I'm handling it all myself. It's like, well, yeah, and it shows because you're just throwing shit at a wall now, and then the next week, what happens?
No, like I said, you got to start building storylines. Like they did with MJF and Wardlow. I mean, that was a good story, and they made it last long. And look at Wardlow now. MJF ended up signing a better deal for more money, and you got Wardlow, who's now over like Roman. So if it worked for that, it would work for everything else.
See, like when they had Punk and Moxley come down, that's when I would have brought back MJF and been like, you know what? Here we go again, Tony. Two WWF guys. What about me? And then now you make it a three-way match for that title.
I would actually go. Not. I would actually. That's a good idea.
But MJF, they took him off TV after that promo. By the time if he don't come back something spectacular, people are already forgetting about him.
But I know they re-signed them. So
yeah,
I don't know unless he wanted some time off. I don't know.
He's the money of that company. He's the top heel, probably the top heel in the sport right now.
Like I said, his promos are amazing. He does great promos.
He's a good wrestler.
His work has gotten better. I'm not knocking him, and he's putting size on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's been putting size on it. So, I mean, I can tell a lot of the guys have been going into the gym. I mean, it's clear as day. Just look at it. You know what I mean? You could tell the guys have some time off and they've been taking, some time into the gym and shit. So
the only time I was sad is and I was anxious to see the Bucks and the Hardys, because contrary to what people think, they had a Ring of Honor match. They had a couple that were pretty good, but that really exposed how beat to shit the Hardy, both of them are. Matt works a little slower, but Jeff couldn't do shit. It was taking him 10 minutes to do anything. The Bucks, that match was basically the Young Bucks fighting a mannequin. It was just, and if Hardy wouldn't have fucked up, they would have been the tag champs, which is also kind of stupid to push them. Oh, we got the Hardy Boys. Let's give them the titles in the first match. So now they
I'm
stick him with Swerve.
I'm glad they didn't. I mean, look at I'll give you an example. The Briscoe brothers.
I love those
Okay,
guys.
they're great. Like the SATs is another tag team, amazing tag team. All Money's Legal, another amazing tag team. There were so many amazing tag teams on the independents back in the day. It's just that nobody would get them like a push. Like the Briscoes they could work anybody and have a great match. But they were stuck in ROH for so long. I don't know what the plan is. I was hoping AEW was going to bring them in.
I think they're keeping him with ROH, which if ROH don't have a TV show, don't mean nothing. I mean, and look at here, let's hire Cesaro, just going back to calling him Claudio Castanel. And in his third match ever, we'll give him the Ring of Honor title. It's like, Jesus Christ, this to me, that just looks bad. And that's why what's his name got pissed off and quit. The Ring of Honor champion. Was it Grisham? I think he got mad and cussed out Tony Khan.
Really? And said,
Yeah. I mean, it's like, hey, look at this guy just
oh,
got
yeah,
hired
yeah,
two
yeah.
weeks ago and I'm doing the job. Fuck you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I heard about that. Yeah. And then he was saying something that the people were saying he was too small or something like that. And I don't get it. I don't get it.
I never got into ROH. Something about it. It just I know everybody big came from there, but there's something about it. I just the look of it or something. It looked like a public access show to me. There's something about it I didn't like.
Gosh. Let's do a timeout for a second.
Yeah, I just that's what I think I liked about ECW. That's the one thing. Okay, I think it was the Great American Bash. I can't remember the year, but I was real happy because like when Vince would bring in Mr. T won. He brings in Lawrence Taylor, and you saw Bam Bam do everything. Lawrence Taylor won. So when they brought in when it was going to be Flair and Arn against Kevin Green and Mongo, I was like, here we go, two football players going to win. And then when Mongo hits the Kevin Green, joins the Horsemen, Flair gets the pin. I was like, this is amazing because those guys are there tomorrow. The guy they're bringing in, he's not coming back the next day. I that was to me one of the best finishes ever because I like that the guy you bring in did the job.
Uh, yeah, you gotta remember Mongo. He always would come to our place when we are in ECW, and he was coming over. Like Rick Rude would hang out with us. Mongo was really an awesome guy. He was so nice, bro. And it's so sad now because I see him now. And I mean, I remember I was at the gathering in the Carolinas, a couple of years ago, and I seen him. He looked 100% healthy. He looked better than he did when he was wrestling. So I was just like amazed. And then next thing I know, I seen him on Facebook and he was sick. And I couldn't believe how fast that what's he have, ALS or something like
Yeah,
that?
he's got to be in the 100-pound range now. It just looks emaciated. It makes me sick to see it.
It's so sad. It's sad, man. I like I said, he was so cool. Like I never the shit he would do sometimes would blow my mind. It would blow our minds, like because he'd hang out with Rick Rude and all of us because we would always party before we'd go to the shows. I was only 10 blocks away from the arena at my house. So talk about convenience.
Yeah, I didn't think Mongo was a good wrestler by any means, but he fit with that four horseman group. There was just something that was like, I can see this. And when you have Flair and Arn, you don't need to be the workhorse. You can be the muscle. Then Benoit did all the work toward the end.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And even when they had the Wyndhams in there, Barry and his brother, like we wrestled them all over the place. They were hell of a workers. But the Four Horsemen is a faction that's going to go down in history. It can't be duplicated that one. I don't care how many times they try to, but if it don't have Ric Flair in it and Arn Anderson, it's not the Four Horsemen. Tully Blanchard and them guys.
Here's a question, an ECW question, because Nancy Sullivan, woman, worked there for so long. And I remember when the Benoit tragedy happened and he killed his family, New Jack was hot. Like he was hot. How are people like Scorp and Sandman that worked so closely with her over the years? I mean, did anybody believe it? I guess I should say.
we were all pretty much in shock. We were all in shock because we knew Chris well. I used to go to Japan with him. So, and you see, when you go to Japan with different guys, you'll see that's when you get to see a real person, like, put it that way. Because when they're overseas and they're working, they got to send money home, especially if they're married and they got kids and they got a family. It's a different thing than being in the arena or being around the United States and go to a wrestling show. And after the show, we go out and party and get drunk. And it's a totally different thing, especially like those guys. I remember Nikolai or Ivan Koloff. Those guys would show up in Japan. He would always bring his hot plate with him. So he wouldn't even spend money. He didn't want to spend money on food. He wouldn't have to. He would just go to the store, buy his food, and cook it in his room. He didn't care. And even Owen was like that sometimes because Owen wanted to send that money home to his family. When it happened, like I said, we were all in shock. I was in shock because I didn't think personally that he would do it. But then again, I can't say what goes on in your house. You can't say what goes on in my house. What goes on behind closed doors is what's going on. We don't know. So who knows? Maybe he could have had a bad day that day. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know personally. I don't think anybody's going to ever know personally what happened. But I know one thing: we were all in shock. And I mean, I personally called Kevin Sullivan because I remember when I met Kevin the first time, Nancy was married to him.
Mm-hmm.
They invited me to his house and he invited me and my boy over to eat dinner and shit like that when I met him in Daytona that time. I was just starting wrestling school, so I called him up immediately because I felt bad because that was his wife. I didn't think of anything else. And he was even in shock. Everybody was in shock. But I mean, I know how the rumors started spinning and people were talking about this and talking about that, and somebody could have did this and somebody could have did that. I mean, what it comes down to is anybody could have did anything. If you don't have a camera there and you don't know what happened, it's all going to be skeptical. It's not going to be. Nobody's going to know what happened.
Yeah, first they were saying, well, it's roid rage. It's like, I've had roid rage. I'm sure you've had roid rage. That lasts minutes. It does not last 3 days.
Listen, Chris has been on juice for so many years and he's had experience taking it for so many years. There's no way that a roid rage would have caused that. And that's my personal opinion.
I don't think it had anything to do with CTE either.
Well, that's a thing that we're going to have to disagree on because when he did pass, he had permission. He gave permission for them to open his brain and check his skull out and check his brain out. They said his brain looked like of an 85-year-old man. Okay, that's how many concussions he had in his life. Imagine your brain is sitting in your skull. And what it does is it's bouncing off your skull's walls. So it's all, I don't give a shit what anybody says. You could wear a helmet. It doesn't make a difference. Your brain's still in water and it still moves and it still hits your skull, which is hard as a rock. And it's going to give you brain damage. End of story. Okay. That's it. I was already diagnosed with PTSD already. Okay. I've been in the business over 30 years. Yeah. I have problems. I've been on this show with you and I forgot what I was saying in 2 minutes with talking to you. And it happens. I'll get up off the couch, come in the kitchen. I don't remember what the heck I got up for. That's what we have to deal with.
See, for me, and this is just my take, and I want to say first, I'm not a fan of him anymore. I liked him when he wrestled. He doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. He killed a small child. I'll never forgive that. No one should ever forgive that. I think it was an accident. I think they got in a fight. I think the fight got physical. And I'm kind of basing this on because Kevin Sullivan would get in physical fights. I think they got physical. I think he wasn't thinking. I think he hit her or something happened. He fought back. He killed her. He didn't know what to do. He was real religious at the time, and no, that's not a bad thing. What's going to happen? I'm going to go to jail. They're going to take my son away. My son's going to open a foster home. we'll just all die together. Killed the kid. And then I think it took him a little while to build up the nerve to hang himself. And I think in his mind, he thought, we'll all die. We'll all be together in the afterlife. But I think it started with, I think it started with an accident. I think they got in a fight. I think he did something and he killed her. And he was like, oh, fuck. What do I do?
My, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I have a similar story. My partner passed away. Okay, and it was a similar story. Like they found him laying on top of his girl with two babies still in the house. So who knows what happened? I talked to him 2 weeks prior. Everything was great. So you don't know what, like I said before, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, you know? And like I said, we're all going to assume this happened, but nobody's ever going to know what really happened, until that happens, it's a shame that it happened. It sucks. It's horrible. There's a lot of wrestlers that he's not the only wrestler that's done this. I
Snuka
mean,
killed his girlfriend.
it's happened before. Rockin' Rebel did the same thing, but didn't kill his kids. So
Wasn't, what's the other rock and roll? Zoomhoff. He got arrested. He was a pedo, wasn't he? Was he molesting like a family member or something like that? I mean, there's a lot of tragedies out there, but there's people, your next door neighbor could be doing it. It's not just the wrestling business. It's just people.
we're just in a different world now. I sit down with my girl all the time and we discuss it. Like when we grew up as kids and how you grew up as a kid is different. I'm so glad I'm the age I am now. I would not want to be a little kid right now, growing up in this crazy ass world where you can't even go to school without worrying about somebody coming in and shooting. I mean, that's just stupid. When I grew up, I don't remember ever being in school and having a discussion about some guy coming in our school and shooting it up. That would
Oh,
never even came across our minds. I mean, literally, you could go out in my school parking lot, okay? And like I said, when I graduated high school in 1985, we only had maybe 100 people in my class. But everybody that was a senior that drove to school, I had two shotguns in my window, right behind my back window of my pickup truck, hanging right in my door, right in my window. So if I needed a gun, I could have just walked outside, grabbed a gun, and came right back into school. You know what I mean? No, I'm not the only truck that had rifle in their truck. I mean, there had to be 10 or 15 trucks, and they all had, because everybody was a hunter. Back in my hometown, everybody would go deer hunting and all that shit, and they were all farmers, so they had guns. Snake came on their yard, they shot it. They didn't care. But nowadays it's just insanity. Like what happened in Texas with those little kids. That's a disgrace, bro. And I know I bring it up a lot, but every time I see it and they show those wimp, weak police officers who are sheep, who
90 minutes.
they don't even have the balls, and you got a vest on, you got an AR-15, and you don't have the balls to go attack a kid. That one kid is sitting there shooting all those little children, and you don't have the balls. You're worried about cleaning your hands. Dude, every single one of them cops should be retired. Take their badge away. They're not police. They're sheep. They're pussies. A waste of life. Disgrace. Every single one of them should lose their job. Every single one. Because if your kids were in there or my kids were in there,
I'm going in there.
I'm going in. I don't need a gun. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. So I still, every time I see it on TV and they go over it and they're still talking about these cops and how they're trying to discipline them, dude, fire every single one of them. None of them are any good. None of them. Because they're all sheep. Losers. They have one job, is to protect and serve, and they can't even do that right.
Soon it's gonna be like that South Park episode where they were like, "There's a school shooting," everybody just like, another one today. They're all calm about it. It was just going. You could see like going out of the hallways. They're just sitting there learning.
What you just said is effing true. It's fucking true, bro. I wake up every day. I look at another shooting today, and we just look at each other and say, "Yeah, another one today." Every day.
We had tornado drills when I was in school because I'm in the Midwest. We do tornado drills. Now they're doing active shooter drills. You can buy backpacks that are bulletproof to put in front of your kid's head.
Is that sad or is that sad?
Pathetic.
It's sickening. I like I said, I'm so I couldn't. I don't know how these kids, and this is why these kids are all messed up today. Mom, Dad, I can't go to school. I don't want to go to school. Why? Because I don't want to get shot. What can you say to that? You know, when we were kids and we didn't want to go to school, what we say? We had a stomach ache or a
Stomach
sore
ache.
throat.
Oh, I don't feel good.
I don't
Thermometer
feel
under
good.
the lamp.
Yeah, your mom would kick you in the ass and say, "You're going to school anyway. I don't give a
Yep.
shit. You're getting sick. I don't care." Now, these kids are like, our school got shot up. I can't even walk into school now. And they're going to stay home for the rest of their life now. And that's why you got guys that are in their 40s who are still living home with their mom and their sister in a basement, you know, trying to be a wrestler. But you still live home with your mommy and your daddy. And the only show you can get on is an independent show that you personally run. I'm so sick of these people, man. You're not right for the business. If you didn't make it, what makes you think you're going to make it now? Because you're running your own shows and you're putting yourself on your own show.
I'm the booker and the owner and the champion. And it's like, dude, if I owned a company,
You're also the biggest mark in the business.
if I opened a company today, you might see me thank people for coming once in a while. That'd be the only thing. There's too much shit to do in the back. I don't fucking be doing two things.
Dude, I got people I was friends with, and I see how they would act. And you wonder why they wouldn't get hired anywhere else. They come to their own show an hour late to their own show. Okay. And then what do? They sit at a bar and count money because they don't even have all the workers pay. They're hoping they're going to make it at the door. This is what goes on with all these independent shows and stuff.
Oh, we got a local show here. People, I made $5 last night. Like, well, then you're a fucking idiot because there was 100 people there. You should have got more than that.
That's all they're
Why
going to
did
get.
you do? Why did you do it? Because if you would have got hurt, if you would have broke a finger, you'd have paid more to fix and splint that finger than $5. There's paying your dues and there's being a sucker.
True. But I mean, I've gotten a paycheck for $15 once. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say I wasn't too happy about it. Didn't pay for my gas to get to the show and back, but I had to keep my mouth shut because I was still green.
People now think Jim Ross and Vince McMahon are going to be watching videotapes of you. They're not.
These
They're
kids,
not.
just because they could do a move or a spot, they automatically in their minds are thinking, "Oh well, Vince is looking at me because I was able to do that." Dude, let me tell you something. They got stacks and stacks and stacks of DVDs that people send them. Okay. And they're going to watch them. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to watch 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. That's why I always tell people if you're going to make a tape to send to somebody, if it's a tag match, I made it 6 minutes. If it was a singles, I made it 3 minutes. That was it. 3 minutes. Because no promoter is going to sit there and watch 15 minutes of wrestling because they got to watch 8 hours of wrestling and they're trying to bring talent in. And that's how I was always taught. And the first time I sent a tape out, went to went to King Curtis in Hawaii, and that got us so much work. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he loved our tape. He was just like, "You guys are the man." And he loved it. He put us against everybody. We went. Don Morocco brought us to New Zealand. I couldn't tell you how many times, 8, 9, 10 times, not counting Australia. So we got a lot of bookings, by doing that. Getting our stuff to the right people. That's what it all meant. Put it that way.
And you have to. It helps to know somebody too, doesn't it?
Everybody has to have somebody open a door for them. In any kind, I don't care, in your business, in my business, everybody's everything in this world.
Yeah, I got my day job. I got it through somebody. Someone opened a door for me. And if somebody wanted into it, I would open a door for them if I liked, I mean, if I wanted to break into wrestling, I would reach out to you. I wouldn't just try. I mean, there's no shame in opening a door. That's how life works.
No, and you try to open a door for people, then people don't get it then because then you push them too hard. I have experience where I've had people with me and I pushed them too hard where their head got so big, they figured, I don't need him no more. I'll go on my own. You're not even close to that point yet. You're not even near that area yet. And you're going to go do that. Well, guess what? Check your envelopes because it's going to be a lot lighter now than it was when you were with me. Put it that way. That's how I always do it.
Now, let me ask you, because we actually got a long show here this week. What do you got coming up? You got some big events coming up to plug.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely plug the Arena 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, November 17th. It's going to be extreme. That's all I got to say. Extreme. Also, I'll be hitting Columbus, Ohio on the 15th of October. I will be setting off toward West Virginia this coming 24th. It's a Wednesday. The Saturday, me, Fonzie, Sandman, Kevin Sullivan, we're going to go wreck West Virginia up. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. So
Dog collar match coming up.
yeah, that's the October 15th, me versus Shane Douglas in Ohio, main event, dog collar match. Things are going to be a little different though. Shane Douglas became a big baby face in Ohio all of a sudden. They love him. I'm going in as the heel. So things are going to be a little different in this match. So I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I expect to have a lot of blood and I expect people to be ready because this card in this show is a stacked, packed card. I mean, we got Kane there. You name them, they're going to be there. So this is one hell of a show. You got to definitely try to get out and see.
Yeah, I'd like to hope. Is it going to stream?
Possibly, because Ohio usually they do stream. The ECW show, I'm not sure yet. They're still getting all their, I guess, hands and stuff all lined up, getting all their ducks in a row, I guess, because they still haven't finished booking it yet. So
Streaming's the way to go. Fight TV, that's think about it. GCW exploded. They're doing double Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows they do, and you can get $20 a piece, get all three of them for $30. It's a good deal. They've blown up crazy since that started.
yeah, and they're selling out. They're really drawing a lot of people, and that's what's happening. I'm not going to lie. A lot of indies are drawing a lot of people. It's like Ohio, even in Florida. I noticed a lot of people are getting drawn in. Jersey's just a complete mess. There's just too many promotions there, and they're all fighting with each other instead of joining all one. There's too many. There's too much. Pennsylvania is a little bit better because they have the athletic commission there, so they can control some of that stuff. So I like the athletic commission. They keep things in order.
Just like Bill Alfonso did.
Yes.
He brought the rules to ECW.
Big shout out to Bill Alfonso. Happy birthday, brother. Yesterday was his birthday. He actually just tried to call me when I was on the line with you. I do want to shout out to him and say happy birthday.
I'd love to talk to Fonzie one day. I could pick his brain for hours.
I will do that. I will talk to him about that this coming week.
I guess with that, do you have anything left to say this week?
No, I'm good. I'm golden. Everybody, like I said, get ready. Football season's coming. Psyched.